this week's episode of TacTalk. I'm Chris Linville with GunsAmerica and also Vulcan Arms. And today we're going to talk about home intruders, what you can do, what's legal, and how in general you might handle that.
Yeah.
What do you think?
So,
Welcome.
Yeah, thanks.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, man. This is probably one of the most asked questions.
Yeah.
Is when is it okay to use lethal force, right? Yeah. And probably safe to say that laws will vary from state to state.
Absolutely.
Right? So as it sits in this episode, Chris and I, by the way, Andrew Chavaria, Vulcan Arms, and we live in Texas, right?
Yeah.
We live in a state where you'll frequently hear buzzwords or the media throw around castle doctrine,
Yep.
Or stand your ground,
Sure.
right? So we live in a state that actually does allow lethal force pretty liberally,
Yeah.
in the sense of in the context of our conversation today, right, which is home invasion.
Absolutely. And I think it's important as we get into this conversation, Andrew, to understand that there are legalities,
Yeah,
right, that we got to deal with and things we need to understand there.
Yeah.
There's also, a humanistic trait to this as well.
yeah, dude.
Right? We got to understand that as well. And so, we can talk specifically about home intruders. We can also talk in general about threats. But when it comes to a threat out in public, for instance, that is different than somebody in my home.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. So in Texas, castle law actually does extend to your workplace, place of employment, or business. And it also extends to your vehicle. Right. So the application or the ability to utilize lethal force within those contexts does exist. Right. But it does not exist within the realm of someone only making a threat.
Right.
Right. That is, I think, the key difference that we have to understand, right? Just because, for example, right, we both own Vulcan Arms.
Sure.
Perhaps one of the favorite things that people like to do in the comment section when they're trolling Vulcan
For the quick draw,
right, is to talk about, oh man, it's perfect for somebody with road rage. Right. Well, the truth is, just because somebody threatens you, just because somebody gets angry at you, flips you the bird or whatever, does not give you the right or reasoning to draw a firearm.
Absolutely.
And shoot them, right? So,
and I'll go even further in this and say that I'm in my 40s at this point. I don't have anything to prove. Mm-hmm. I certainly am not looking for a fight, so much so that I probably go on the pretty far from where I was in my 20s, and that is if a threat is coming for some reason and I can get the hell out of there and diffuse it by just not being in the situation again, I'm going to do it. Right? I'm not going to run, jump to, gun comes out, and pulling the trigger, right? In other words, if I can save a life, even if it's somebody else's, right?
Yep.
By me just getting the hell out of the situation, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And we do also have the aspect, right, within the castle law or stand your ground doctrine that actually does take away your duty to retreat.
Yep.
Right. So you do not actually within your home have the duty to get out or to retreat.
That's right.
But is that the safest, smartest, and probably most appropriate thing to do in most cases? Yes.
Right.
I'm going to tell you, me personally, right? You are kind of beyond this at this point in your life, right? At this stage in your life. I have 4 small kids in my home. Right? If the threat is between me and my children and all of my family safely exiting the home, I'm standing my ground, if you will,
right,
and I'm engaging the threat.
Right.
If it is not between me and my kids and I can get my whole family and myself out of the house safely, bro, stuff's replaceable.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. And so that's what I mean by when we talk about do we have the right to stand our ground, do we have the right to protect, even in Texas, we have the right to protect our property. If somebody is stealing my truck, I have the right to shoot at it.
Yeah.
Right? Does that mean I should?
Yeah.
If there's not a threat to somebody, if it's just losing something, I'm letting it go.
So,
I'm not worried about it. For one reason, the life isn't worth it, regardless of if it's a bad guy, to me. Second, I have no idea where I'm going.
But if they're stealing your truck and you're in it, if they're just stealing your truck, different. You actually don't have the authority to shoot them.
Texas, on my property in Texas, if they are stealing my truck, I can shoot them.
So I was actually just reading again, pulling it up, right? Find it, scroll. It is because I think it's important, right? When we're talking about this, right? reasons under the castle law where it is reasonable for you to exercise lethal force. Unlawfully and with force entering or attempts to enter your habitation, vehicle, or workplace, attempting to remove you by force from your habitation, vehicle, or workplace, committing or attempting to commit aggravated kidnapping, murder, sexual assault, aggravated sexual assault, robbery, or aggravated robbery.
Right, and so those are all very reasonable requests. One, doesn't mean they're all, it just means they're the reasonable ones.
Right.
And that's within castle doctrine, right? It says nothing to do with, castle doctrine has nothing to do with protecting my stuff.
Yep.
Right? And keeping people from stealing it. In which case, the fact of the matter is you could do that, but here's the question I have for you. Just because you choose to take that stance and protect your stuff, and let's say you do shoot, right? And somebody dies.
Yep.
Does that mean you are civilly released from that? No, it just means you're protected criminally. Right?
Yep.
It does not mean that their family can't come and you get sued over this, over their life being taken, right? And the truth of the matter is, maybe not here in Texas, somebody might, a Texas jury may very well likely say, well, his truck was worth it, right? But the fact of the matter is, if that's a scenario that happens, you're going to have to convince a jury that your truck was worth a human life.
Yeah. Jurors, a petite jury, or a judge, all have the authority to make a judgment as to what is reasonable.
That's right. And in that case that I gave, is it really reasonable that your truck, a piece of property, was worth more than a life?
Yeah.
Not really, right? Because you wanted to be a badass and prove a point.
Right. Now, if they were shooting at you as they were stealing your truck,
done
deal, bro.
It's not even going as far as shooting.
Yeah.
If he pulls a weapon out, period, and comes in my direction, I'm taking a shot.
Which leads me to the that actually leads me to the part about making a threat, right? If somebody even is on your property and says, "I'm gonna kill you," it is not within the castle doctrine, stand your ground, or your reasonable right to shoot them.
Right.
If they say, "I'm going to kill you," with a knife in their hand or a gun in their hand,
totally changes
that has
things.
Totally changed it.
Yeah.
Like the
totally
context,
changes.
right? So again, you have to be in imminent danger, or someone else has to be in imminent danger in order for us to do that. Again, still not clearing you from the civil responsibilities of the actions that you take.
That's right.
But it certainly protects you from the criminality of
it. It does. And however, we should keep the civil stuff in mind too, because we got to live the rest of our life.
Yeah.
Not only do you got to live the rest of your life with just the legal consequences.
Yeah.
But when you take a life, you got to spend the rest of your life knowing you did that.
Yeah.
Right? And I haven't, right? But I know many that have and have served and done so, and it's a toll.
Right.
From my understanding.
It is a heavy toll, right? We had this conversation in the special episode that we dropped with Vince Vargas, right? Where we talked about going to the range. We've talked about it. I myself am a combat veteran, served in the Army for 10 years, and when I look at those things, right, and what we talked about is being in that episode, we talked about you and I being in the same restaurant or in the same location, right?
Sure.
And you were like, "I'm going to run towards the threat," and I would say, I said, my heart is not because I don't think you're capable, but because I know the toll it takes. I would rather it be me than you.
Right.
But again, it's something you have to live with for the rest of your life.
Well, and let's keep it in context. What I said there was, in a situation that there was an active shooter, am I going to run and cower?
Yeah.
Or am I going to run to the threat and help to stop the threat before it gets to other people?
Right. Good guy with
and my answer was, I'm going for it, right? And your point was, I'd rather go so that I have to take the shot, having been there and already living with this, than you that somewhat has a clean slate.
Yeah, and I would take it from even the other, just a little bit further than that, and back to where I was talking about earlier with my kids, right, in the home. Bro, I would much rather help my kids and my wife get out of that situation than them live with the image of daddy having to shoot somebody.
That's right.
I would rather that be the case.
Yeah.
Hey, bad guys come in, bad guys do things, they take stuff's replaceable, no big deal.
Yep.
We're all safe, we're all alive. And they also didn't have to see daddy do something that they're going to have to live with for the rest of their life.
That's right. And I think sometimes a lot of times egos get in the way.
Yeah.
And guys, we're guys. We make decisions with our egos sometimes, and maybe we're a little pissed off that guy's stealing our truck, or he broke in, he's stealing my TV or whatever. It doesn't matter.
No.
It doesn't matter. Let it go. No. Let it go, right? But if your life is in danger, if they're sure as hell, if they're through my threshold, I 100% assume they are here. If they're here to do damage to me, or to those that I care about.
Yeah, dude.
Right?
And, going along with that, right? Again, there are, just as in law enforcement, there are escalations that you take, right? I know we've recently changed the language in our country from tasers being non-lethal to less lethal force, right? Because you can actually...
We did? We changed that?
We did.
Who is we? You speak French?
I do, right? So the actual terminology now across the board in law enforcement is less lethal force, because it has been...
I guess they use that for beanbag guns and stuff like that too, rounds and stuff.
So with tasers in particular, though, what we have found looking at it across the board, or what has been found across the board, is that heart attacks, cardiac arrest, things like that, through the electroshock have been more common and frequent, and loss of life is imminent, right?
Sure.
So, but anyway, long story short,
it's a possibility,
it's
not
a possibility,
imminent.
Right?
It's not imminent.
It's a possibility.
Okay.
Right. So we see, but first things first is, dude, neutralize, hand to hand, put hands on you. And if that doesn't work and you're aggressive, then you go to less lethal, right? Which would be that taser. And then if you're threatening me in a way, like, now we've escalated to lethal force.
So you say that we start here and then we get all the way up to lethal, right? But in the
that's
context,
in a perfect world,
right? That's a perfect world. In the context of somebody's within 20 foot of me and they're making threats and they're coming at me with a knife, or they draw a pistol,
I'm dropping you.
There is no way that I'm going hand-to-hand combat to that. I'm going straight to my pistol at that moment, right? Or they come across my threshold, or I'm awake at night and I hear somebody stirring in my house, right?
Yeah.
The reality is I need to make sure I understand the threat, right? If somebody comes into my house, I need to make sure it's not somebody that should be there.
Yeah.
Before I pull the trigger, right?
100%.
So we can get into gear here in a second and talk about that type of stuff, but you have your right to protect the place.
100%.
And you should.
Absolutely.
You should. So let's talk about, how do you deal with home intruders? Okay. Like, first of all, I would challenge everybody listening do you even know how many doors you have in your home?
Yep.
How many do you have in your home?
I have three doors in my home, 4 if you count the garage door.
And these are exterior doors.
So 2 exterior doors in my home that are immediate access, front door, back door.
3 with the garage?
3 with the garage door.
Okay. And then I would also challenge people to that one's an easy one. Do we know? Usually we have a front door, back door, exterior door going into the garage, then the garage door. But how many internal doors do you have? And then I'd also ask people, do you know which way those doors swing? Mm-hmm. All of these things that matter from a tactical advantage, right? Have you practiced rolling through your house? Yeah. Have you planned what actions you would take if somebody were to come in?
Yeah.
Right? Have you planned out in that situation where your ammunition is stored versus where your gun is stored?
Yeah.
Right? So do you have, for that matter, ammunition and magazines maybe throughout the house that you could pick up if you needed as you were moving through the house? These are all things that I think vast majority of people go through life and they never pay attention to.
Yeah.
They don't know. They live in their house. They have no idea whether it's a right-hand door, left-hand door, swing, but all of these things matter as you breach doors, as you go through doors, as you move through them.
So all of our doors swing right, except for the 2 office doors that are French doors, right? And I have 9 interior doors.
Perfect.
Right? So I know exactly where those doors are. I know that 2 of those interior doors are my garage and laundry room doors. That somebody, if they came through the garage, would have to go through both of those doors.
Yeah. See, and that's stuff you gotta know. So as I was looking for a new home, and we're about to move to a new home, I was looking at the entire property, not just the interior of the home, but the entire property of how I could protect it.
Yep.
Right. The fact of the matter is, there's a perch. There's one window at the front of the house. I can see straight up the road that comes through our property.
Yeah.
If you breach that fence line, now we've got a problem.
Yeah.
But these are all things that should be talked about and thought of. And then I would go, how are you going to defend your home? Mm-hmm. Okay. So what type of weapon would you choose for home defense for a home intruder if you had your perfect world situation?
Perfect world situation. I have tactical shotgun.
Okay.
Tactical 12 gauge, right? Couple of reasons. Number one, right? Buckshot is a lot safer to shoot inside of a home by way of backdrops and collateral issues.
Yep.
Right?
In other words, you're not going to shoot a bullet through the wall that might hit the guy next door.
Exactly.
Right.
Right. No,
right.
That's exactly right.
And keeping in mind, let's take back the fact that most people don't understand how many doors are in their house or how to move through their house. Mm-hmm. Do they train with an AR-15 well enough to be able to do CQB and work the house?
No, probably not.
No, they don't, right? And so people think they need that.
Yeah.
I'm with you. tactical shotguns.
Yeah.
And I'll go a little further with tactical shotguns. I'm of the mindset now that I really like mag-fed shotguns.
Yeah.
I really like mag-fed shotguns. And because, going back to magazines, I can hide and put mags through the house. If I need to pick them up, I can.
So I have an AR platform.
Yep.
Tactical shotgun.
Yep.
Has a flashlight on it, right?
Yep.
So again, probably most
you need to know the threat.
Right. Most intruders are going to come in the dark.
Yep.
Right?
And you need to know who you're shooting.
Exactly.
Yep.
So, again, know your setup, know your home, know those things, right? Again, I don't want to, dude, we were just talking about babysitting, right? And my wife was out there and she said, oh, nope, that day my mother-in-law's in town.
Right.
Right. What's to prevent my mom from just, showing up a day early?
Right.
Right. And I don't know she was coming in a day early.
Right.
And my mom has the keypad codes.
Now, first of all, let's be clear that anybody that has the keys to our home needs to know what they're dealing with when they walk into it.
Exactly.
Right? Like my mom does. My mom has keys to our home, right? Same as yours would. I think most reasonable people would give their parents keys to their home, right? So, but mom knows.
Yeah.
Probably don't show up unannounced.
Yeah.
Right?
So, funny story, right? This is a hilarious story. When Obama was running for president. Okay. In case you don't know, I'm a conservative. Wah. Okay. Wasn't an Obama fan. Wasn't going to vote for Obama. There was no chance. Have a buddy of mine who thought it would be really funny to make a billboard size yard sign.
Okay.
That said, I heart Obama, and the heart was the Obama logo.
Please tell me you put it in your yard.
He went to put it in my yard. He went to put it in my yard. And I mean, this thing was probably 6 foot long, 4 foot tall.
Nice.
Like, it was solid, dude. And he spent time, it was hand painted. He spent time for this prank. Okay. My tree, or my yard was covered in oak trees, right? So it was a very dark yard. Kelsey was pregnant at the time, and she was going to get water. She walked past the stained glass style front door, and she saw a shadow moving in our front yard. Okay. And had something in his hand. He had a hammer in his hand.
Okay.
So the first thing his wife, the first thing his wife tells him when he leaves the house is that's Andy's house. Don't get shot.
Right.
Right. That's the first thing she said. First thing Kelsey does when she sees the shadow moving in our yard is go back to the room and say, hey, there's somebody in our yard. And he has something in his hand. He's walking towards the door.
Yeah.
And so, racked one in the shotgun.
Yeah.
Tossed it to her. And she's pregnant, dude. Like, she's got a shotgun. I was like, you stay right here. Like, the babies are behind you. No one gets behind you. Right? And I grabbed a Glock, went to the front door, and I opened the front door. I turn off the light and have the pistol light on.
Yeah.
And all I hear is, don't shoot, it's Zach.
So in other words, what I'm learning here is wait until you go out of town before I put up the huge Riding with Biden sign on your front door.
Yes.
Okay.
So he did this, right? And again, both of us not going to let a good prank go. Well, first of all, let me back up. Know your words, know your terms. I messed up. I laughed. He kind of told me what he was doing. I never went back to tell Kelsey it was all clear.
Oh, shit.
So she's standing with a shotgun and in between the living room and the kids' room.
Kelsey doesn't play.
No, she doesn't
Somebody's
play.
about to go down.
Yeah. So she kind of does this number around the hallway door. And I said, oh, it's all good. It's just Zach. And she goes, you could have said something sooner. Right? And
Mama's protecting the babies,
Mama's protecting the babies.
Yeah,
she had a job. But again, so his wife knew our house.
Right.
He knew our house. Don't get shot.
Yeah.
We didn't let a good prank go unwasted. We went and put it in somebody else's yard. That was a mutual friend of ours.
Right?
So, and then I went and helped. And two guys made faster work than one guy.
That's
so
perfect.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, again, that was a family friend that, they knew our home. And the first warning call to him was, hey, dude, know where you're going.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So even our friends know, right? No secret, right? Like, I own guns.
Right.
Right? I mean, really?
Whoa.
A couple of them. Just one. Just one.
Two.
One's for hunting only.
Mine are gone.
Yeah. Lost in a boating accident. Yeah. That's fair.
Surprise.
But me too. No, but the truth is, your friends, your family, they know the home you're coming. Like they know where they're coming, right? And again, know the backdrop, know your purpose. perfect world, again, what did I just say though? I gave you a real life scenario of where we thought we had a home intruder.
That's right.
And the first thing I grabbed in order to protect my family and to keep everyone safe was a shotgun.
Right.
Right? So I'm not just saying, hey, I think it's smart for you to have a shotgun. This is real life application even in my home. It's what I have. It's what we have.
Right. And so then let's go further with it. Do you have more than one shotgun?
Yes.
In the house? Are they the same? Are they different?
They're all the same.
Yeah, and so they should be, right? And in our situation, my situation where I said I'm really into mag-fed shotguns at this point, right? One of the things that's been a big focus of me this year too, and I think people have heard me say it, is commonality of gear, right? Is making sure that I do, if I'm with you, I would prefer, SIG guy, Glock, whatever, but I would prefer us to be on the same weapon system if we're going to be hanging out all the time, right? Because if I drop a mag and I need a new one, and I can grab from you and vice versa. Well, if I am defending my home, and my wife is helping defend my home, the reality is if we're both on the same weapon system, they both take the same mags, we're covered. We're in a better tactical situation, right?
Right, and you know, you said I'm a Glock guy. I'm really not. I'm starting to carry them more.
Sure.
But I haven't been. I'm a Springfield guy. I love Springfield. I know that they're a solid marketing machine, 100%, and their firearms are great. So I'll tell you, my EDC is typically a Hellcat or the XDM. I used to carry an XDE, like a 45, like but bro, that's just a little overkill. Like sometimes it's just too heavy in some shorts.
Quite a bit, yeah.
But you know that their XDM Mod 2 is typically my go-to carry, or the Hellcat. But I carry Hellcat. Kelsey carries a Hellcat. Again, it goes back to exactly what you're saying. Commonality of equipment, right? If she mag dumps, she can grab
which
another.
Mama Bear's going to do, right?
Which,
she's definitely she's not taking one shot.
Right.
That guy's got to go.
Yeah. So if she mag dumps, I have another mag.
That's right.
You know, she has another mag. If I magged up, I can grab another mag.
You know, the first time I learned that lesson actually is I was doing a bounding exercise down kind of the battlefield, and the idea was it was 3 guys. We were working this big field, returning fire, going. We're working down the field, and at the end, we're supposed to get our guy that's holed up in a door out, give him medical attention. That's the scenario, right? And we get down, guy. We pull the dummy. You know, and one of our guys, the medic, is doing tourniquet work on him, and I'm laying down cover fire. And I go empty on my pistol, and immediately just pops in my head because I got to keep fighting, right? I reach down to the medic that's working on the dummy, and I reach down to grab a mag off his belt to slam it in my pistol, and I go to do it, and it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit, right? And that's when I realized, crap.
He has a Glock.
He's got a Glock.
Yeah. I'm
on a SIG platform, and it just didn't work, right? Yeah. And I actually, because I'm not going to stop fighting, I started dumping rounds out of the deal and adding them back to my magazine. So at least I have a way to get in the fight. In other words, never give up, right? Yeah. But the truth of the matter was that was a valuable lesson. I'd heard people talk about commonality of equipment, right? But until you have that click moment right there, whoa, now it's real, right? And I'd sure as hell hate to be in a home defense situation where there's a home intruder and not be able to handle it.
Yep. And this is also, you know, I want to take it even a step further. How are we on time?
We got 5 minutes or so, 5-10 minutes. Yep.
I want to take this just a little bit further, right?
Okay.
So I have 2 small kids and I have 2 older kids in my home, right? We have 4 kids total. My older kids know where our firearms are and what they would need to grab in the event of a home intruder if mom and dad aren't home.
Right.
Our firearms are not easily accessible in the context of our general living areas, right? But in my room, in there, my older kids know, right?
Well, yeah, and I think you're getting into another conversation which we should absolutely have.
Yeah.
And that is firearms around children at some point. Because the reality is, my kid, sure, he's 18 at this point, but since he's been 7, I have never had to worry about a gun around him at all.
100%.
The worst thing that was going to happen to a gun laying here is my kid might clean it while we were away.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
So like my son's been hog hunting since he was 5, right? I get it. But here's the deal, is the reason I bring that up is because all of my kids have gone to the range. All of my kids know those things. I'm confident that my wife, that my kids can operate safely this same weapon system in a home defense situation. And that is super important.
And so practice with it.
Yep.
Right? Practice with that damn thing, right? And then the last thing I'll kind of leave is as far as a setup of how to defend your home, because it's a little bit away from should you shoot or not and legal and whatnot. But from a tactical sense, if I'm in my home and let's say I am upstairs, say my bedroom's upstairs, and I hear somebody, am I grabbing my gun and running downstairs?
I'm not.
I'm not either. No way in hell. Especially if I already know that everybody that's on my side is probably upstairs in their rooms too, right?
Yep.
I'm probably going to post up right there at the top of the stairs.
Yeah.
And I'm going to listen. Now, there comes a period at which you need to go figure out if it's clear and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But primarily, I want exactly what you said, the fatal funnel, right?
Yeah.
Please come up this stairway at that point, right? Because my goal at the end of the day really is what? The threat goes away.
Yep.
That I don't have to shoot somebody. That, as you said, the kids don't have to see dad take somebody out, right? And have to live with that.
No, exactly.
And so if I hear somebody rummage, it's going to be hard not to go after them.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
But yet again, we're still talking stuff, right? Still talking stuff. But the second they start coming up that stairwell, now you're coming at me and my family.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And that's done. You're in the best tactical position at the top of that stairwell.
So last thing I want to bring up is the non-conventional way to protect yourself in the event that you do have to use your firearm.
Right. So exactly. So let's assume, guys, one thing, and understand that if you do, a home intruder comes in, the law is primarily on your side. That if they come in and they are an actual threat and they're coming at you, that you're going to take a shot. Say they pass. You're pretty good criminally on that, right?
Yeah.
Does that mean that you're not going to jail that night?
Nope.
Does not. You're quite likely going to go to jail that night, right? Get out within hopefully the next morning, next day, whenever, 2 days, whatever the hell it is. But then does that mean you're probably not going to court either?
Nope.
Not likely, right? You're probably going to have to deal with a hell of a lot of attorneys and paperwork over this thing, right?
Yep.
In court systems. And so my next question is, for most Americans, are in the situation that you're ready to protect your home, are you ready to protect yourself all the way through that court process, which could sink you then?
Yep.
Because you may not be able to afford attorneys. And quite likely, if you're like most of America, you don't have a nest egg of hundreds of thousands of dollars to spend on attorneys.
Yeah.
Right? So I think I know where you're going here. Yeah. What are other ways you can take care of this?
Right. So up to $1 million is what these fees can lead up to, right?
Right. Easily.
So really simple, right? And this is one of our partners at Vulcan is Firearms Legal Protection.
Sure.
Right. FLP. They are basically a contingency plan for if
it's insurance.
Insurance, right?
Same as our car insurance, right?
So if you use your firearm, it protects you legally.
In a personal
defense nature, right? It gives you the access to the attorneys. It gives you the access to covering the court fees. It gives you all of those things that you're literally paying, like you said, like for your car. It's your comprehensive coverage.
That's right.
To use your firearm. It's
going to make sure that if and when something like this happens, that you have people in your corner. Yep. And you can withstand that fight too, right?
Exactly.
That ultimately, in this scenario, what you would do, and just to keep in mind some stuff to me seems like common sense, but we want to make sure everybody understands it, is when you shoot that person, that home intruder, suddenly the cops are here because somebody in the other room's hopefully called 911 already, right?
Yep.
Cops roll in. What are you going to do first? Put the gun down, come out, hands up, right? And we're all going to come out that way, make sure that we're not near the gun, because these are cops walking into a situation, they know somebody got shot.
Yep.
They don't know if you're the good guy or the bad guy at that point, so let's make it easy on them, right?
Yeah.
Second, do you answer a lot of questions on their part that day?
No.
Hell no. What am I going to say? I was at fear for my life. I thought for sure that guy was going to kill me.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
That's all I'm saying, right? And then the next call is going to be, hopefully, if I have coverage with FLP, I'm going to make a call to them, and they're going to have attorneys that are going to fully take care of it, right? Yep. And so thank you for bringing that up.
Absolutely, dude. So, no, it's super important. I mean, in the day and age that we live, right, it's super important to be covered across the board.
Yeah.
So I think it's important.
It is. So I think that helps wrap this up. The reality is, folks, and thank you again for spending your time with us this week. I know it's about 30 minutes we spend with you each week, and if you have questions, things you want us to answer, things you want to talk about, make sure that you go ahead and put it in the comments below, and let's argue about it. Let's ask questions. Let's talk.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. The reality is we don't have to agree on everything. Yeah. But we do have to have conversation.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that goes a long way. And this here is an important issue with home intruders, and making sure that we can ensure that our families feel safe and that ultimately they are safe.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
And I feel like that's a responsibility of mine. I know you feel the same way, and many others do too. So let's make sure that we also check our egos, our stuff isn't that important, guys. It's not more important than a life, right?
Yep.
But protecting other lives is worth doing the unspeakable if we have to.
Absolutely.
Right? And I believe, strongly that, very kind, incredible people are capable of violence. Doesn't make them violent people. But in the situation that they have to, you got to do bad things to bad people.
Yeah.
Right?
The answer to a bad guy with a gun is always the good guy with a gun.
That's right. And let's do it as smart as we can do. And hopefully this is giving you guys some things to think about. Of course, if you need to pick up FLP, you can go to vulcanarms.com and get your firearms legal protection there. Of course, you can also get things like the gun solvents, cleaners, and then the weatherlock bags, quick draws, all that. And if you need firearms, you can always go to GunsAmerica.com for any amount of firearms or accessories you need. Anything you want to share on the way out?
Man, let's, guys, train, stay safe, be smart, do things the right way. When you're good people, good things happen.
That's right.
When you're bad people, bad things happen to bad people.
That's right.
It's really simple. I think it's the easiest way to live your life.
Sure.
But again, kind of like Chris said, dude, check your ego at the door and understand what's most beneficial to you, to society, and to your family.
That's right. Have a great week. Thank you.